$1 after 5 o'clock. So you can park there all night till 5 o'clock the next morning for $1. Any other comments? Roll call.
Mayor Panto,
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano,
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Okay, there are no reports to be received by council. We'll move right into committee reports. Finance Committee, Vice Mayor Brown.
Mayor, I have no report this evening.
Okay, we do have a budget just for the public's
Just a budget.
edification. We have our stated session first, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break and go right into our budget session. You're more than welcome to stay online or leave after the meeting's over. Economic Development Committee, Councilmember Volcano.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank everyone for supporting the free parking during the holidays. The merchants and restaurants will greatly appreciate our commitment to downtown during this pandemic. And also, I just want to say I have under new business a D resolution authorizing 2020 CDBG allocations in the amount of $900,000. And if anyone has any questions, I believe we have Shakira on the line. If I can't answer them, I'm sure she can. Thank you.
Okay, Public Safety Committee, Planning and Code Committee, Councilmember O'Connell.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, David. Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Ruggles.
I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Public Works Committee, Councilmember Ettinger.
I have no report tonight. I do, however, have 3 resolutions and I'll be moving later.
Okay, thank you. Administration Committee, Councilmember Milan.
I have no report.
Thank you. Report of the City Solicitor, Mr. Shear.
I have no report.
Report of the Mayor. I just want to update City Council on the Winter Village. The huts are being constructed. Again, I want to thank Home Depot for their contribution. I want to thank the Carpenters Union for helping to put together possibly as many as 10 of them. They are not easy to put together. They're taking 1 or 2 days each. So we're really thankful for their donation. We also want to thank W Graphics, who's going to be donating many of our banners that are being sold. And just to let you know that the sponsorships are selling very well. We are raising more money than I anticipated. Barack and John and the DCED officers are doing a great job. So is GDP of raising money. The sponsorships are going pretty quickly. We have a number of the huts that are $1,000. The North Pole hut with Santa Claus will be already sponsored by Dieter Brothers. W Graphics is sponsoring another hut, so it's going well. The banners, if any of the council members are looking for a banner, they're $500, and we're very excited about that. We have started to line up entertainment. We have a number of interesting things that will be happening. We also have the setup will be right after the Peace Candle. The Peace Candle is getting set up either the 12th of this week. We always wait till after Veterans Day because it is the War Memorial. So Veterans Day, so it is scheduled to go up Thursday or Friday, depending on the weather. So after that, next week, the skating rink will be starting to put together probably by Wednesday, and the huts will be located in the circle. We'll start setting them by Wednesday. And we'll have a couple press conferences next week that City Council will be invited to kick off what will be hopefully a very prosperous holiday season. We do have a number of the huts. I think they're all spoken for. As of our meeting yesterday, all 20 huts are spoken for because one, of course, includes the skate rental. One includes GDP selling their gift cards and some Easton memorabilia that we're getting. One includes the State Theater selling gift cards, and I would like to. My next topic is the State Theater, which I would like to remind the public who's listening in that the State Theater needs our support. We met with them yesterday, and hopefully they'll be at City Council in December 9th to update City Council on their status. But we're very fortunate to have that theater in our community, and I would encourage everyone to do as much as they can to support the theater. Lastly, the holiday market, which was going to move up from the Larry Holmes Drive for the holidays, the 3 Saturdays in December, is going to stay on Larry Holmes Drive and allow the village will start to go into underneath those beautiful lights that the Friends of Easton donated last year. So we will have that. But as I said, the sponsorship is coming in really good. And again, it's a different tranche of money. It's not city taxpayer dollars that are going towards the downtown activities. Want to thank John Kingsley, Marak, Dave, and Lewis for really putting together our committee internally. We've been working, we meet every day for like 20 minutes just to make sure everything's moving forward. And we're very fortunate. We have a good staff that's going to make this happen one way or the other. Remember, we put this together in less than 4 weeks, so we're really excited about it. We will require people to do social distancing as much as possible. The huts will be socially distanced as well. The skaters will be socially distanced. We will only allow probably 50%. It holds between 75 and 80. There'll be no more than 30 to 40 people on the ice at the same time, and they will have to wear their masks. So the skates will have sanitizer. They will be sanitized after every use. We have a sharpener that came with the rink that already arrived, and we'll be training people this week on how to sharpen the skates. So we're looking forward to a great event. And I think it's going to be a really interesting time to be downtown. We have carolers lined up, strolling musicians, stilt walkers, ice carvers, different days, obviously, from now till the end of the year. I will tell you that the Peace Candle will be lit the Saturday after Thanksgiving, November 28th. But there will not be a big fanfare. There will be the lighter who is going to bid on it on eBay as a fundraiser for Main Street, so they can hopefully secure some dollars for that. And it'll probably be lit around 5:30 that night, without a lot of fanfare. There will be no. Last year we were very successful in having our parade of children following me and the Easton Big Easy brass band down to the first Christmas tree. That will not happen this year. That's going by the way of COVID as well. So we're going to try to do our best without stifling activity in the downtown or in the city. As you know, we've had some activities throughout this COVID. We're not looking to have any super spreader events, but we certainly want people to come down and shop and help our merchants who've gone through a really difficult time. So with that, I'll move on to, there's no correspondence. There's no unfinished business. New business, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by James Ettinger. Resolved that the Council of the City of Easton, Pennsylvania has reviewed and approves a parking lot construction easement agreement, copy attached here too, between the City of Easton and Verizon Pennsylvania LLC. Be it further resolved that council authorizes the mayor and city controller to sign said contract and the city clerk to attest the same.
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded by Ruggles. Conversation, discussion, questions? This contract has been reviewed by both of our solicitors. Jeremy took the lead on this one. It is a construction easement for the new 4th Street parking garage. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
No.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Martino?
Aye.
And Mayor
Aye.
Penso. Okay.
Aye.
Okay. We have a resolution being introduced by James Ettinger. I just want to tell you that the one that was in your packet was for Selco. David Hopkins gave me the contract yesterday, and that is now with Allentown SMSA LP, doing business as Verizon. Has reviewed and approves a small wireless communications facility master license agreement, copy attached here too, between the City of Easton and Allentown SMSA LP doing business as Verizon. Be it further resolved that council authorizes the mayor and city controller to sign said contract and the city clerk to attest the same.
So moved.
Moved,
second,
Second,
moved and second by O'Connell. Roll call, discussion? I will say that I saw the one that went up on Washington Street. And when the existing pole was taken down, I don't think it'll be so bad. I've seen the one out on Freemansburg Avenue in Wilson Borough. Obviously, they're paying us something. I just hope that the state legislature sees that they had no trouble getting their approvals through the city zoning board, that there's no reason to preempt small cell towers from the process, the city municipal process. Dr. Ruggles.
Yes, I just wanted to know what's the difference between the contract that Tom just related to us that he received, I guess, today versus the one that we got in our packet?
Sir, there's no difference in the contract, just the name.
Right, I can attest to that. There was an issue with, there was a lot of back and forth with this contract, and I guess at some point Verizon switched the names out on it, and so the one that was originally submitted as part of the packet had the former name on it, but I've reviewed the two, and they're identical other than that change.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
aye,
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
We have a
Mr.
res,
You don't have to read that whole resolution,
okay,
memorize.
yes, we have a resolution being introduced by Sandra Volcano. This is for the allocations for the 2000 Community Development Block Grant. On your resolution that you were given, it said $90,000. That was a typo error. It's supposed to be $900,000.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second by Ruggles. Comments or questions?
Don't we usually get the applications in our packets?
Okay, I can explain. Well, I'm going to try and explain this because as it was explained to me, as you know, we are now in conjunction with the county with CDGP funds. So it was approved. The open hearing was held with the county and all the applicants were brought in there. And it's not something that we need to do. We have done it in the past. I questioned that, but because of COVID, we felt it wasn't necessary this year, or that we didn't really, and we're doing Zoom. We didn't have to do it this year because we did up there. But we're hoping to resume that next year and bringing the applicants in, or at least seeing
Well, I
it.
mean,
But the other thing is that everyone that applied was given the amount that they wanted because of the COVID money. The regulation of the COVID or something to that effect. So everybody that applied got what they wanted.
Mr. Milan, I do have the applications. If you wish, I can possibly make copies for you or try to email them to you.
can you scan them, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Hess?
I'll try to, yes, sir.
I mean, you just separate them. You can just separate them if you don't mind.
Yep.
I'm just curious as to what a fire protection facility study entails for $35,000.
Okay, I can't explain that, but maybe is Shakira on?
No,
Well, I
Mr.
can-
Campos
let
can
me
explain it.
jump-
That-
let me
That's a
jump
city
in.
request.
Mayor, if I can jump in real
Yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
This has to do with well, first of all, just before I even go there, Dr. Ruggles and I sometime back went to a training down on the main line, Philadelphia. It was a training regarding purchasing fire apparatus. And we did report that to council and we came back. Different schools of thoughts on how to purchase it and things are changing, et cetera. One of the recommendations was that you should have an evaluation, almost an appraisal done of your equipment of the different fire apparatus. So in talking to our DCED folks, this particular study, if you will, is able to be covered by CDBG funds. So this is it was put out to bid. We received, I'm not sure what the number is, but we did receive a bid to conduct this study. That's what that is, to appraise our fire apparatus and then also have a replacement schedule for future years.
So it's an appraisal of our apparatus for $35,000.
Yes.
Okay.
And I just want to say that there are some zeros on here that you'll see they didn't get the funding. It's because they were covered under other funds that came out of the COVID stuff that came about. So they were funded through that. And that excess money that they asked for was then put into something down in public services, I believe road repair, I believe it was.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Lamb,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano,
Aye.
Mayor Penzo,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by James Ettinger. City Council has received a petition to vacate a portion of Marquis Street as described on said petition, copy attached here too, located between Clinton Terrace and Hart Street. And whereas this petition is consistent with the procedures set forth in Third Class City Code 11 PA CSA section 12918, and whereas said section provides that City Council is to determine the adequacy of petition, and whereas it appears that the petition is adequate to proceed to a hearing after proper advertising. Now therefore be it resolved that City Council accepts the petition of Lafayette College as being adequate and authorizes the proper advertising and scheduling of hearing pursuant to the Third Class City Code, cost of advertising to be reimbursed or paid for directly by Lafayette College.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Brown. Comments? Questions? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano,
Aye.
Mayor Penzo,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
I think it was you, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
and Mr. Milan.
Aye.
And Mayor, if I may just comment, just so the council and anybody listening in will know the procedure. This first step was purely a technical step. I looked at there was a request to vacate this one block area. I looked at I explained that it has to go by a petition, but the petition I examined and it's in proper form. Now what will happen is it'll be advertised 3 times in a newspaper of general circulation, and then will be put on the agenda for December 9th for a hearing, at which time there will also be a proposed ordinance. So just wanted to explain to you where this goes from here. So the ordinance would be introduced on December 9th, and then whenever the next meeting is, you'd be able to, the ordinance will be actually advertised at that point, and then whenever the next meeting is, you'll get to vote on it.
Okay, roll call.
Well,
O'Connell,
you voted already. This was post-game analysis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
okay, we have a resolution being introduced by James Ettinger that the Council of the City of Easton, Pennsylvania has reviewed and approves a grant agreement, copy attached here too, between the City of Easton and the County of Northampton for a Two Rivers Trailway Trail and Bridge feasibility study in an amount up to $40,000.
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
Second,
Second by O'Connell. Mr. Hopkins is still on. Dave, would you give an update on what this is for? I think this is a great project for the city.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we can.
So what we did, we applied for the County Livable Landscapes Grant, and we received that in an amount of $40,000, and then used that to match a DCNR grant application for which we were just approved. The total effort's going to be about $100,000. That's going to analyze the city's access to the DNL Trail and Delaware Canal State Park. Right now we just have so much traffic coming through the city, and I think with the incoming of Hearst and a potential bike race next year, we're really becoming a bike-centric community. And with all the public rides that Genesis Bikes offers, it's become evident over the years that it's a difficult path to get to the DNL from the downtown and the Two Rivers Trail system. So we're going to analyze a few different avenues to improve that access. We're going to look possibly behind the train station, through the rail yard. We're going to look to improve existing conditions, and we're also going to research the feasibility of constructing a new ped bridge across the Lehigh. It would likely be a two-bridge system where we would have one span across the river and then a second span from a point on the 611 side over to Delaware Canal Park. We haven't gotten into it that far. There's a lot of complicated hydraulics that have to be studied just to see if it's feasible. But we're confident that if it is feasible, we'll have funding available through PennDOT and other sources to construct it.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano,
aye.
Mayor Penzo,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
and Mr. O'Connell.
aye,
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Salvatore J. Panto Jr., resolved by the Council of the City of Easton, Pennsylvania, that it hereby appoints Thomas A. Hess as the acting city clerk until the current city clerk can resume her duties.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Volcano,
Aye.
Mayor Panto,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
aye,
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
I believe that's all of our business except for public comment. So we'll move to public comment. Anyone in the public would like to speak to city council, raise your hand. And the city administrator will let you into the building, into the meeting rather. And I don't see any hands raised, Louis. Any other comments or concerns coming before the city of Easton? Last thing I'll tell you before we adjourn is that I am calling a meeting as soon as we can somehow get people back into a meeting room somewhere of the 185 South 3rd Street Committee. We have we're ready to move that to the next level. So I would like them to confirm some minor changes that were made to the plan before it starts to go through the planning process. We did create them to set up the committee to review it. There's been some minor changes made, so I'd like them to review it and confirm it, and then send it off to the planning committee, Historic District Commission, etc. Mr. Scheer, did you have something?
I was just wanted to ask Mr. Campos or whoever's monitoring if there's an ability to report how many people might be viewing this or had been viewing this.
There were more. There's some that have come off already, but there were 20 attendees.
Okay, I just want to I thank you. I did this in the planning commission. When there's no hands raised, I'd like to have something in the record to reflect the fact that the public has been able to access and view this. And that's why I asked the question.
Thank you. Yes, we
So
did have,
noted.
they are getting off as the meeting's coming to an adjournment. They are getting off, but actually the only ones left are, there's a phone number there. I'm not sure who that is. And other than Melissa from the college, that's there. The others are, I think, are mostly city employees, except there's a J that I don't know who that is.
We're going to stay on this call for the.
5-minute break.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll move to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ruggles, seconded by
Mrs. Volcano.
Mrs. Volcano. Okay, roll call when you're ready, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano,
Aye.
Mayor Panto,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
We will reconvene at 7:05 for the budget deliberation.
That or.
They pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna do it. But you'll be looking all over the card.
How was your meeting?
Well, Miss Tina calmed down finally. Somebody told mom somebody must got in the air. We got her under control, so shampoo, whatever we have to do. We couldn't afford it.
Hey, Ken, I'm going to put you on mute, okay?
Yeah. And, after
Okay, it's 7:05. We're going to start the budget hearing. I see Stephanie has joined us. She's on the agenda tonight. Economic Development is on. John Kingsley is here. Lewis has just stepped out. Oh, Lewis is back. All right, so let's get started. Turn it over to you, Mr. Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to start the year-to-date revised budget through October 20th through November 9th. And then we're going to look at the mayor's budget for 2021. At this time, I'm turning it over to Mark for the rest of this budget hearing.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Brown. As was mentioned, I did send out yesterday a couple of files. First being the preliminary year-to-date October actuals. Obviously, the figures are preliminary, not yet finished, but If there are any questions, I would ask that you please, let me know now, or please feel free to contact me, over the coming weeks as we prep the final numbers for October. If there are no, looks Dr. Ruggles.
I just had a question. I'm not sure what it's in the 151 fund. There are two accounts there. One of them is 1,034,206. And I know I know what that one is, okay, because it's described well enough. But then there's another one just a few lines below that. Again, in the 151 fund, it's 506036,411. And I'm not sure what that is. It says tapping fees on it, connection tapping fees. And I know we get tapping fees from Suburban, which I believe is the prior line item, but I'm not sure what these tapping fees are.
There are sewer, Marco, they are sewer fees. We also have a tapping fee for our sewer, sanitary sewer tapping.
Correct.
Well, if that is the case, if we take a look at our budget, that the tapping fees for water from Suburban and the ratio between the sewer and the water is 62.5% in our budget. Year to date, that ratio is 16.4%. So, I mean, if we're getting that many water coming in, I would think that we should be getting at least somewhere in that 60% range of sewer coming in.
The agreement we have with the Suburban Water Authority when the lease was done, we get 33% of their entire tap-in fee, even though new tap-ins in the surrounding municipalities. Wilson, West Easton, Glendon, Palmer, Forks, Williams, and parts of this side of right around 33. So that's why that's always going to be more than our own. Our own is probably more accurate because it comes right from the engineering department. But
yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, but then we come back to the budget issue of our budget is 62.5% ratio, and we're currently getting in 16.4. So it seems to me like we're underestimating, we're overestimating our sewer tapping fees in our budget line item there. Something to take a look at.
we
Okay.
can certainly take a look at that because it's very possible. Obviously, there's a lot more construction going on out in the suburbs right now, but we can obviously take a look at that because we'll ask Dave Hopkins to give us an update on that and send a report to you.
Okay. The other question that I had, just a comment, I guess. I noticed two line items. One is in the 101 budget, which is 506404,215, which is for sweeper parts. And then the bigger one is in 111 5063,04820. That's for the sweeper lease agreement. My question is on this is why are those two in our in these budget line items and not in with the MS4 numbers? I mean, our street sweeper is considered a best management practice, which we do get credit for street sweeping in the MS4 program. So to me, I think all of our costs for that street sweeper should come out of the MS4 program.
Well, we can take a look at maybe at the parts section, but the sweeper itself is actually being paid for by liquid fuels funds. So that's why it's coming out of the 111 fund.
Well, my point is we could use that liquid fuels for something else.
Right.
And the MS4, it's clearly an MS4 issue. And so, I mean, the liquid fuels could be used for other needed items. Okay. So
right. I would have to, I don't recall what year of the lease we are in, Dr. Ruggles. So I'll take a look at that and see, if this predates MS4, which I think it may, but I will check and let you know.
But I mean, even though it predates, we can still pay out of the MS. I would think we would be able to pay out of the MS4 program.
Yeah, well, I will take a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. The other question I do have, and this was the question I had at our last meeting on the cable TV. Did you ever find out what that $56,422 going out of that line item was?
Yeah, that was actually an adjustment for the prior year, for 2019. So we as we were going through the audit for 19, which was obviously later in this year, we realized that monies that had originally been booked earlier in the year should have come out earlier in the year. So basically those are moved out in, I believe it was in September or July or whenever that was.
Well, again, I think that's another line item that we need to take a look at in the budget. Because if we take a look at it with that money coming out, we're only getting about 13.5 thousand per month year to date. And our budget on that is 22,000 per month. So there's a significant variation there between what we are actually receiving and what we're budgeting. And I mean, I understand that. I mean, I think a lot of people are moving away from cable TV. And so I'm sure that number is decreasing. But again, I think in our budgeting, we need to take a look at that number a little bit more closely.
Okay,
that's all I have.
I'll get additional detail. Thank you. So unless there are any other questions, and Mr. Campos, please let me know if you would like to lead off. But my suggestion was going to be that we start with the folks who are on the line with us. So Fire Chief Hennings is on, as well as John Kingsley for their respective departments, and then Stephanie's on to help us with, I believe, the Employee Health Benefits Fund. So if we wanted to work on those first, and then take a look at the other, I think we've got 6 other funds that we would be reviewing this evening. If that's okay.
I don't have a preference, Mark. Okay. I guess if you look at it in terms of groupings, John Kingsley has, I think, more than one person. So if you want to start there, is that how you want to do it? Go with a larger group?
Well, Fire, I think, is a larger group. Is that what?
No, I wasn't sure if Shakira was joining John. That's what I meant about that.
Oh.
It's however you want to do it.
I think actually I saw Shakira leaving, so
okay.
I don't think she's there. So should we start with John or with Fire? Doesn't really matter.
John's fine.
Okay, let's go with John then.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for giving me the time to present our budget, which I should be able to get through pretty quickly because there's not an awful lot to it. What I wanted to do, first of all, is just kind of give you a quick, brief overview of some select, accomplishments from 2020, so you can see the things the department's been doing over the course of the last, 10 and a half months. So before I get started, I also just want to thank, all of our partners in this. This doesn't happen just by the department activities, which are really myself and Mark Tominik, our economic development coordinator. This happens because of a lot of hard work of many different people, including my colleagues here in the city, which I couldn't ask for a better team to work with. our close partners in the Greater Easton Development Partnership, the Northampton County Department of Community and Economic Development, and the list goes on. We have a wonderful team here, promoting community and economic development in the city and helping us to develop the resources that we use to make this all possible. So that's a good place to kind of start off the accomplishments. I mean, given the fact that we are in a pandemic, business expansion, business recruitment are not really something we've been focusing on because there's not a lot of it going on. Businesses aren't looking at relocating or expanding in a time frame like this. So we've been focusing most of our efforts on business retention, and you'll see that's where a lot of our accomplishments are. So on the resource development side, which is another primary role that we play, we've raised about $3.5 million in total grants this year through applications and through a lot of advocacy work. $1,950,000 of that was dedicated to COVID-19 recovery efforts, $1 million towards Easton Iron and Metal redevelopment activities, and another $250,000 to a forthcoming expansion in Centennial Park, much of which we've talked about in the past. So we've also applied for several additional grants, which are still outstanding, $1,165,000 that we currently do not have determinations on yet, but we are expecting them over the course of the next 90 days or so. In addition, we've been doing other fundraising, in this case, $200,000 to help promote a COVID-19 business recovery program. We did 23 loans in a close partnership with GEDP. This is actually technically their loan program, which we raised the funding for, helped to do the business development, and then ultimately helped to develop the related loan documents, the underwriting associated with it. We ended up doing 23 loans to support local businesses. We've also implemented a number of things to help businesses remotely access resources, including webinars to assist small businesses and a comprehensive website that we've been managing on small business resources related to COVID-19. We've done a lot of hand-holding to small businesses in the city, working through these resources. I have a commercial lending background, which has helped me provide direct assistance to businesses, and we've just been helping to identify where they can get access to these and how to navigate that process. In addition, we've also been focused a lot on the business recovery program phases. Phase one being, the Jersey Wall cement barrier outdoor capacity program, which has been incredibly successful, and we received just raves from the businesses that have been involved in that. And we're also working on the second phase of that, which is our Winter Village program, which the mayor outlined earlier. A lot of work in the department in that. We've also been doing some, kind of utility projects wherever we can help the city. We want to be of assistance. We've been helping to sell the remaining Restylon properties. 207 and 218 are the two we've been focusing on. 207 Palmer Street, actually, I believe the transaction fully consummated today. So I think we got the funding for the sale in the account today. We've also obviously been working a lot on the preferred developer, RFP for 185 South 3rd and finished kind of the first phase, if you will, leading toward the agreement of sale. And also we finally did complete the environmental remediation of the Black Diamond site, and you can see the work that has been done out there. Phase one of the project is completed, and we're glad to be through that. That leads us to the budget itself, and there's just a quick summary of it. Our budget, proposed budget is a 10.3%, 10.4% reduction year over year compared to the 2020 original budget. The 2020 revised budget that I know all of you are aware of kind of resulted in a substantial reduction in many of our core activities, support line items, GEDP, marketing, training, trade organization memberships, and the like were all cut substantially. The 2021 budget attempts to kind of reintroduce some of these activities at significantly reduced levels. And you will see, the cuts that we're proposing to each of those line items, from the 2021 proposed budget compared to the 2020 original budget as they're outlined there. 2021 is going to be a year of transition for us. We're going to hopefully move back into a lot of the what I would call core economic development activities that I referenced earlier, including things related to business recruitment and promoting business expansion. So there's going to be some costs associated with those related aspects of the work that we do, and we'll kind of quickly go over those in the context of the budget itself. And you have the line items that were that are in our 101 budget line items. So we'll go over kind of the items that are really that are really substantial and that are somewhat changing, if you will, and the ones that I sort of highlighted in the previous slide. And they're kind of in the middle of your budget schedule. They're line items 4194 through 4540, primarily in the middle. And those are education and training. We are, as I said, proposing a reduction year over year from 7,500 to 4,500. This is a $3,000 reduction that we're comfortable with, but we need to get back to doing training, and particularly for Mark's benefit. Mark's a recent graduate from his graduate studies at Lehigh, and I really would like to help him, get to that next level in his economic development career, which would include, working through certain specific training programs like the NDC's, or the National Development Council's Economic Development Finance Professional Program, and IEDC's Certified Economic Development Program. These are not really cheap, what I'll call programs, but they are considered to be the de facto standards for those specific designations. And they will be very useful to the city in terms of helping us work with local businesses and attract local businesses. They'll also help him in his career as he moves forward. The advertising and promotional materials you see is also, a significant, number above what our 2020 year to date is. Obviously, we froze budgets, which reduced our ability to be able to do marketing, but we do need to get back to, business recruitment and related activities and telling the economic story of the city. So I do think that, getting that to a relatively significant level to promote the city as a location for businesses coming into the area new, and then also promoting expansion in the area is important. You'll also see dues and subscriptions, are again a reduction, but trying to bring them back to some level of normalcy so that we can remain, members of the Pennsylvania Economic Development Association, the Community Development Financing Authorities organization. These are entities that are very valuable to us in terms of information on the work that we do and helping to provide resources to us in doing our job with a limited staff that we have. Meetings and conferences, again, trying to get back to some level of normal. I would like to begin at least attending PETA conferences as they begin to reopen their activities. The two bottom items in this particular area, 4530 and 4540, the governmental units, those are just for your own edification. The two governmental units is a pass through to the redevelopment authority to help with carrying costs associated with Easton Iron and Metal. We don't intend to hold that property through the entirety of the year, and it will actually become a city property as we get through the remediation and demolition on that project. And then finally, the last item in their non-governmental units is our support to the Greater Easton Development Partnership, and you'll see that's a 10% cut. The last item that I would probably comment here, just because it's a relatively significant item, is the management services. It's 43,121. And that's a line item that we've used for appraisals and characterizations of sites that we're working on, including, I expect we'll be doing some things on 185 South 3rd before transfer, hopefully, to a preferred developer. And then work we'll also be doing on Easton Iron Metal and Centennial Park. And that's just really in a nutshell our budget. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and we could get into more detail in any line item you think is appropriate.
John, it's Peter.
Peter.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Could you kind of elaborate on what measures GEDP took during the pandemic to either reduce staffing or reduce expenses or reduce operations?
Well, I know several of their people. They did furlough. I can't speak to the exact budget implications of that, but I can tell you GDP has been involved in the vast majority of the items that I outlined in terms of our accomplishments. So they've been very active, even with a somewhat reduced staff. But I can't speak exactly to the number of staff members that were furloughed. I know there were some, because I know they are actually trying to hire some of them back now.
Did they take any other expense reduction methods that you can think of?
Other expense items. It's very.
If you can't, I mean, that's fine. I'm just asking.
I don't want to mischaracterize it.
That's fine.
And certainly, if you'd like, Peter, we can have them come in and comment on I know there obviously there was a lot of work being done within that organization to try to maintain funding levels, and they were able to secure things that unfortunately the city doesn't have access to, like the Paycheck Protection Program, among other things, to keep their staff at closer to a full complement. So there were resources they had available to them to help get them through this period. They also obviously do an awful lot of resource development within their organization, and even hired an outside third-party resource development person to assist them through this period. So I'm not sure that their reductions needed to be at the level that perhaps other organizations did, just because of their fundraising capabilities.
So do you think the 270 could be cut down a little bit if we had to make other cuts throughout the budget process?
I certainly think that's something that we can talk about. I will tell you that my discussions with GDP have been at this level, but that is, this is a council, determination.
Sure. It's a conversation. That's all. I'm just asking questions.
Fully understood.
So, I mean, if you had the conversation, I appreciate your forwardness. Thank you so much.
Not a problem at all. Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see any, Mark.
Okay, with that, we will thank John, and I think we can move on to Henry and the fire department.
Thank you all very much for the time.
Thank you, John.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everybody.
Okay, there we go.
Henry, you're live whenever you want to go.
All right, so this is our budget review for 2021, obviously. Are you ready for the next slide there, Mark?
All right. Trying. Doesn't want to cooperate.
Okay.
Waiting. Let's just do this here. Okay.
Okay, so all of our increases on our line items are for upgrading of equipment. The Knox boxes that we have, we've been transferring them from apparatuses. We've taken them out of service into our frontline apparatus. They don't manufacture the parts for these anymore, so we have to upgrade to their latest technology. The small tools, same. We're replacing equipment in service that has just met its service life. Our clothing and supplies, we have an increased cost for our uniforms, and our turnout gear is approximately $5,000 per set per individual, and each individual has 2 sets of turnout gear. All right, last slide then, Mark. And then our protection and supplies. We also, every year we have increased costs for replacement for hoses, ropes, and other equipment. Unfortunately for us, we have a useful lifespan is generally about 10 years for all of our durable goods, and we have to replace those as they wear out if they don't make it to their end of their lifespan. All of our wage increases are contractual, and our final reporting software, we're going to be switching from Firehouse to emergency reporting. It's going to be a easier workflow reporting to the state fire commissioner's office, and also easier for our officers to do the paperwork that's required after every call. And that's all I have. If there are any
Okay,
questions.
we can switch over, Henry, I think, to the actual budget itself. So I'll do that.
Okay.
And then we can see if there are any questions. Sorry, trying to get to the fire department. Having a little trouble. Hang on just a moment, please.
Well, Mark, while you're pulling up the budget, I'm sure all the council members have the actual budget. Are there any specific questions for the administration regarding the fire department's budget? And obviously we have Acting Chief Hennings, who's come in late to the game, so to speak, on working on some of the details on this budget.
I guess my question is, where in your presentation are those line items in this budget?
If you, Mark, can you scroll down the radio and equipment maintenance, clothing and supplies, the protection supplies?
So has the department taken any initiative to research and apply for any grants that would help us offset these expenses?
As a matter of fact, we have applied with the State Fire Commissioner's Office. They offer the emergency reporting software, and then we just have to pick up some of the modules that go with it. So that is a significantly reduced cost for us.
So nothing for turnout gear then?
There are no grants for turnout gear.
And what modules would cost $22,000 for the new software that you're recommending for purchase?
Well, that would be our the hydrant locations. It'll build out our fire inspection program and the building locations.
Did you say fire inspection program?
Yes, it's a fire safety inspections that we will be doing.
Did you discuss this with Mr. Narowski, that he might have this module in his application?
I have not had the opportunity to talk with Mr. Narowski about that application at all, no.
Because maybe they already have it integrated into their software, and we may have to add another layer of applications to manage and pay for.
I will have that discussion with him as soon as he returns.
Okay. And it looks like that we are, Mark, can you scroll up, please? And it looks like, just for the record, that we are not going to be implementing part-time firefighters for next year, correct? That's the line right there, 4143.
That is correct.
Okay, so we're not going to abide by the CBA then?
There's a lot more than just the language that's contained in the CBA to be able to hire part-time employees.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
Well, everybody has to do a civil service testing process. We do not have the means to have that set up as of yet. You have to do background checks on all these individuals. You have to make sure that their certifications are up to date. And there's just no process in place currently to do that.
And let me just say, we are abiding by the state CBA. The CBA just gives the administration the ability to hire part-time, but we are abiding by the CBA.
Do we have any part-time firefighters on staff right now?
No.
We do not.
Well, then how are you abiding by it then?
We're abiding by the contractual obligations of the CBA. It's just that,
Okay.
The collective bargaining agreement gave us the opportunity to hire part-timers. We've chosen not to do that as of yet.
Okay. Because of expenses that are not associated with the CBA. That is per Mr. Hennings.
I wouldn't say because of the expenses. No, not because they're not covered by the CBA. The expenses would be life safety expenses such as the turnout gear. But what more importantly is what we're finding out about the civil service, and Stephanie can also address that, but the civil service requirements that we did not realize that a person had to go through, they had to be on our civil service list. They had to go through the actual same process as a full-time firefighter. We were hoping that we could get people that were at the academy and hire them. Look, no one wants more professional firefighters than I do. I live in a house that's 125 years old. I want a professional fire department, but the city cannot continue to keep expending this amount of money for a city our size. So we were looking for ways to change that, and obviously paying part-time employees less than a full-time employee, or and still having the certifications and qualifications, that we never were going to waver from that. We would always abide by that. There were rumors going around that were being put out in the community that were hiring people off the street. That was never, ever true. They were always going to be certified firefighters, just like many of our firefighters today came from volunteer fire companies. So, I don't understand the difference, but they do. So we were always abiding by it, but what we did get it from the arbitration last time was the ability to hire part-timers. What we're finding out as we get further and further into the quagmire of hiring part-timers, the full-time has made it so difficult the law is so difficult out in Harrisburg to hire a part-time firefighter, even a certified, qualified, trained part-timer. It's become very difficult. Again, they have to go through the entire civil service exam and requirements to become qualified.
Is Mrs. Weber on the phone right now?
Excuse me?
Mrs. Weber.
I'm here.
She's here.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
Hi, good.
Is there an active civil service list for firefighters?
Yes.
When does it expire?
Next year.
Do you know when by any chance?
I think we did it no, I don't know exactly.
Okay.
I believe it's May, Steph.
May? Okay.
May. So have we, just out of curiosity, just for information purposes, have we gone through the list to see how many of those applicants who are through the civil service have the requirements to become a firefighter in the city?
As far as the certifications that they need?
The minimum requirements, yes.
No.
I would be interested to see, out of those people who passed the physical exam and the written exam and have the requirements to become a qualified firefighter in the city, what number would it be? I'm just curious.
Yeah, and I think the training part of it is the more intense part, where for a part-time firefighter, our thought process realistically was that they would have to go through the academy, and the academy is a full-time, essentially,
Sure.
job,
Well,
Monday through Friday. So to put someone through that for, I mean, I don't even know logistically how we would pay for them at a full-time rate, especially with the ACA laws as far as offering healthcare benefits and such.
No, I'm aside from the academy, I'm just curious what percentage of those firefighters, those people on the civil service list, meet the minimum qualifications. And when I mean minimum qualifications, I mean they already have academy, they already have certifications.
Well, and I think that's the thing that people misinterpret with the Academy for Fire. The Fire Academy is especially around here, you need to be sponsored in order to go. It's not like police where you can go on your own and get your Act 120. It's not open to the public. So
they need firefighter 1, firefighter 2, EMT, basic vehicle rescue, and so forth.
Yeah. They're.
Okay. I'm just interested to see how many people on that list, because I mean, really, the academy, I'm not sure if that's really a if it's our requirement or they just have the certification that they can get from any other institute, such as the Northampton County Community College, for example.
Right. No, I understand that. And when looking at when the arbitrator awarded us this for the Act 111, it was pretty specific as far as the credentials that they needed in order to be a part-time firefighter. So, I mean, we can obviously look at that in detail and contact the people on the list.
I'm just curious to see who's on the list with the certifications and the requirements.
Yeah,
I mean, it would just be for discussion purposes, because frankly, like if they're on the list with all the certifications and requirements, then to be very honest, I'm not sure we can have the argument about not meeting minimum qualifications.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks, Steph.
Yep.
Anything else from anyone?
All right, if not.
Mark, who's taking notes for this?
I have been, for sure.
Okay. You have my notes you have my comments about this with regards to.
I do.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So if there are no other questions, we can let Chief Hennings go and move on to our next funds.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
You too.
Okay, so maybe to allow Steph to get off. So the remaining funds we've got on the docket for today are the debt service fund, the revolving loan fund, City Hall fund, the health benefits fund, our insurance fund, unemployment comp, and workers comp. There were a few others that were on the original list, but in order to kind of consolidate and do all of the DPW related ones, we did move the sewer fund and there's another one that we moved over to Dave's section for next week, or his review for next week. With Stephen being out, we're trying to figure out how we're going to get the planning and codes department or bureau done. So with that, I believe we can start with the health benefits. Steph, if that's all right. And I'll bring that up. So if I'll just ask everyone to bear with me just a moment.
Louis, would you mind letting me share my screen?
Okay, do you want me to stop sharing mine and stuff?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So so as you can see from the charts here, the healthcare benefits, as you all know, we're with Capital Blue Cross currently. We don't plan on switching them for next year. We also have a carve out for our pharmaceutical, which is Benecard, again, which we don't plan on switching for the next year. There are some, well, we'll start with the year-to-date totals. So far this year, we're at $2,464,030.19 as a year-to-date total. We're trending pretty evenly, which we have been throughout the years, which is a good sign. This year, we expected a dip because of COVID with people not going to the doctor as much. And then obviously an increase as people started getting back to the doctor and that kind of thing. So we are part of the Lehigh Valley Business Coalition on Health, the LVBCH, which helps us with our administrative fees. They're a coalition. Along with administrative fees, they have yearly seminars and different monthly seminars that I attend along with my staff, which gives a lot of insight on different healthcare savers or trends within the industry. As you all know, we also have a PPO and a high deductible health plan. So the PPO is obviously very strong in the city with our groups. It's something they're used to, something they're comfortable with a copay. We have been negotiating and trying to make the high deductible health plan a little more sweet for the individuals, for the union. So we don't have a lot of union participation with the high deductible health plan. But I think as we work with them and they get comfortable with it, we would see a shift with that. The benefit of the high deductible health plan is that it does make the employee a better consumer. So you do have this very high deductible. The city puts in some money into your account. You can put in some more money into your account, and you really look at the cost of your medical expenses and your pharmaceutical. Your wellness, we have a wellness program. We do multiple things with the wellness program, which a lot of you are familiar with the biometrics. We have gym reimbursements. We do have a EAP with IBH. So I get an aggregate report from them every year, and we do have employees utilizing that benefit. And then of course we have the wellness committee that is starting to meet up again. And we do try to do the annual health fair. We didn't do the health fair this year because of COVID, but we do plan on doing it next year. And then I'll talk a little bit about our pharmaceutical carve out. So this is a chart here. In the middle is just a trend report. So with our pharmaceutical, this year we've seen an uptick in specialty medication and a little bit of an uptick in non-specialty medication. So a specialty medication is, some of you may not know what that is. It's a medication that's very high cost, and it's a complex drug that can treat very unique circumstances, or it can also treat things like blood pressure or rheumatoid arthritis. So these drugs tend to be very, very costly. And the trend with pharmaceutical across the board with all industries is that it's going up, so that they are coming out with these newer drugs that are better for you because of their molecular structure. But because of that, they're at a higher cost. So we expected to have an uptick in specialty, which is one of the reasons why we carved out with Benecard. But you can see from our graph in the center here, the specialty trend, we had 169% increase from last year of our specialty. We had a 24% increase from our non-specialty. So that's the generic or your brand medication. So Going forward, and the other thing I wanted to point out here is that our generic dispensing rate is a little low. The industry standard is at 87% and we're at 85. So there are things that we're going to take into account when the programs that we're working with Benecard. So just to kind of give you an idea of the programs, this is another reason why we switched to Benecard, because they had a lot more program options than just staying with Capital Blue. So some of these programs are very familiar to everybody. The prior authorization, so something that is a drug that you may not need, or you're skipping steps or something along those lines, you do need a prior authorization to get filled. Drug utilization with high dose, that's people who are taking a drug that is prescribed to them, that they're overtaking it. It's a higher dose than what they should be taking. Drug utilization review, this is just people maybe, I know one example, we had an individual taking a drug, their doctor said, oh, just W pills, and they ended up running out, and the Benecard wouldn't allow them to refill it because it wasn't time yet. So he had to call the doctor and get that straightened out, because the Benecard watches your dosage and when your refill times are. Drug quantity management, again, that's as far as the same thing. What I was talking about is how they manage the quantity of your pharmaceutical and step therapy. So with the program costs that we have implemented last year, we saved about $56,000. For 2021, we have a couple new programs that we want to put into place. The clinical cost management, this one, they look at the drugs and see if there is a better drug that they can take, a generic, or if they're on a specialty. Some specialties are just like aspirin combined with another drug. If there's some other way that they can manage the cost where they don't have to get the specialty drug. Responsible RX, that is that's if you are taking mixed drugs and they can counteract each other or be harmful for you. So you take one drug, you take another drug, and then you take another drug to counteract the other drug because you're having symptoms. It depends on utilization. So that one you can save money just based off of them looking at the charts and seeing where they can cut costs on the drug. And then the enhanced specialty medication program, that one, as you can see, that one, as the chart below, you can see where the cost savings is. So these drugs over on the left are our top utilized drugs in our plan from 2020. So this is, of course, if the employee continues to take these same drugs for 2021, this would be an image of what the cost savings would be. So annually, it cost us per month $1,138. But the cost savings for us for the plan would be $37,744 for the year. And this is, so the Benecard will go and look for coupons, manufacturer coupons, to work with the employee to sign up for these manufacturing coupons. They'll look for other discounts through other avenues, nonprofits, to see if they can get a better deal on the drug and help the employee sign up for these programs so that they can have these cost savings. So other than that, that's really all the kind of cost savings plans that we have for the medical program.
Stephanie, so in other words, we're holding the claims budget line item fairly flat.
Yep.
And it's staying flat. We haven't seen a lot of increases due to, I guess we've been managing it proactively. Like one example that you gave is we carved out the prescription drug component last year. So we're not going directly through our carrier, which is Capital Blue were going directly to the farmers, to the RX carrier, which provided some savings. That's helped. And plus introduced all different types of programs that is quote unquote, hopefully driving wellness and consumerism. So I think that that's solid. We've been trying to manage it. Certainly, I've seen other in other municipalities increases in the double digits, and we've been holding fairly steady. Now, the only blind spot that we may have is this specialty drug. So who knows how we're going to get affected by that in the future. But any questions from anyone? All right, Steph, thank you for the presentation. Mark, we'll go back to you.
Okay. So what I can do is share kind of at a high level our remaining funds to be covered this evening. Bear with me again. Okay, so as I mentioned, our debt service fund, if we just look at a high level, you'll see that compared to our prior years, we are going up. Now considering that we refinanced, you may say, why is that? In fact, the debt service number is going to be, or the net impact of the debt service is actually lower. The reason it's up here in this view is because of the payoff or what'll be the refinancing of the days in lot. So if you recall, we are sitting on that note, which expires at the end of 2021. We are assuming $3 million of proceeds for the sale of that property. And so that money will be paid out here. So basically our debt service is actually going to be, true debt service would be 3.9. Then we're adding in the days in. So kind of, again, comparing apples to apples. I believe we've noted on several occasions that with the restructuring, the refinancing, that we will be paying about $1 million less or so in debt service. So if you compare, the 3.9 versus the 5.4, that's where we're getting the the drop in debt service. Again, layer in the $3 million that we're paying out towards the outstanding note. Next, we will go to the revolving loan, which is regarding the Humor Park, I guess, property there. There, as you can see, there is no change. We do get some interest from that, and that's being reflected here. 203, the City Hall Fund. This, again, as a reminder, includes rent from Billy's and from Valor, and it covers our City Hall expenses. Following that, we just went over 252, our health benefits, which Steph covered. Next is our insurance, casualty, and property, which we are holding flat with this year. We may need to take a look at this and just tweak the insurance versus the claims number as compared to our 2020 revised. But we'll have that for our next review. 254 is our unemployment insurance fund. Right now, we do not have anything budgeted. However, after the mayor's original proposed budget, we did agree that we should fund the insolvency fee. And what that is it's a payment of about $27,000. It's more or less an insurance payment or insurance coverage that the city would get for unemployment costs with the projected furloughs, which obviously we're trying to whittle down. But with those, there comes a significant cost.
Mark, if I can jump in. So this payment is for 2022. So later in 2021, in December of 2021, the solvency fee would have to be paid. This year's solvency fee is being paid by December as well.
That's not correct. No, the payment that we need to make in December is for next year, for
Right.
2021, right? Okay, so I see what you're saying. Yeah, yes. So yes, we I guess we'll need to figure that out and see if we do need to include that for 2021. Thank you for
Yep.
the 2022 budget. Correct. Thank you. Let's see here. The next fund would be workers' comp, remaining relatively flat year over year. If we look at our original budget, our revised, we're basically right in the ballpark. We don't anticipate any additional any additional cases outside of the norm. And those are the the kind of high level budget, the fund overviews for the funds we're going to cover during today's budget hearings. Are there any specific questions? It looks like Dr. Ruggles may have one.
Mark, can you go back to the City Hall Fund?
Sure.
I guess my question here is in the budget, in the 2021 budget, we're at 125. And the 19 budget was 175, the 18 budget was 200,000. And I mean, don't we have leases with the people that are in these locations? And why is this going down so much?
Yes, we do have leases. In reviewing the leases and reviewing the terms, I believe that the earlier budgets for 18 and 19 were actually overstated. So the revenues that we had projected did not tie in with the actual payments coming from those vendors. I believe the initial thought that there was going to be more funding coming in, potentially from other sources, but that is not the case. So have since brought this back down to what we believe is the true number.
Okay, I would have thought you have a lease, you multiply whatever their monthly rate is by 12, and then you add the two together, and there's your number. And I mean, I'm not sure why those numbers 200,000 and 175 were off by as much as we're demonstrating with the 125. I mean, that's a significant amount. That's like 60% from the 2018.
Right. I can go back, through the, I guess, taking a look at the 18 and 19 budgets, and pull that information and bring that.
No, that's not true. If you look at the budget, that you're looking at the highlights, the summary. You're looking at the high level, Mark. If you go to the actual budget, the rent of buildings has been $125,000 for the last 4 years, since 2019. It's still 125. But what you're looking at here is all of the revenue, not just the rent of buildings.
So we're not, where's the other revenue at then?
Well, there's the city portion. We paid in 19, we paid $50,000. So for our 2 floors, we paid $50,000. For their first floor, they paid 125. There's always we're living here cheaper than we would normally live here because we're getting the rental income. But if you look at the city rent of buildings was $50,000, and we got $125,000 from the leases. So that's our revenue, $175,000.
Well, then why isn't that the revenue in this particular line? It's 125 in this line. It's not 175.
Mark will have to answer that. I'm just looking at the detailed budget because I knew we were living here very inexpensively.
Mayor, did you say we pay rent?
No, we pay the difference in the costs.
Where is that coming out of? Do you know, by any chance?
Right here, city rent of buildings.
Well, that's a revenue number, though.
Oh, wait, all those utility bills. And then you'll see a line item in general fund. to cover the $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, that account, is that a new account?
No,
It wasn't in our 2020 budget when we first passed it.
it's been around before the Alpha Building.
Yeah, I mean, it's not in our 2020 budget.
The Alpha
Right.
Building budget, when we were in the Alpha Building, we had a city hall budget. We always had a city hall budget.
No, I'm not saying we didn't. I'm saying this line item that you're looking at, 34207,
No,
like that's not.
Yeah, we did not include we did not have a budgeted line item for that in 2020, nor do we have one for 2021. That's
So
something we can revisit.
well, the leases don't cover all the utilities for the whole building.
No, I get that, but what I'm just trying to figure out,
Mark.
to Dr. Ruggles' point though, like the numbers just don't jive then. I mean, not to sound overly complex, but they just don't make sense.
But the rent of, well, my only point was the rent of buildings is consistently 125.
Right.
And that's the rental that we get from Valor and from Billy's.
Right.
And the rent of the city rent should be the difference of the utilities versus what the 125. So Mark, I don't know why we got to budget the difference.
Okay, we will.
I mean, if they're utilities, Mayor, they would be right there under the 203 fund, correct?
Yeah, they are.
So is that not what you're referring to, or just something else I'm missing? I'm sorry.
So that's what I'm referring to, those utilities.
So do we know what the delta is between what we pay and between what the leases are paying and what we're paying?
And I'll tell you that in a second.
Okay.
Right now, our expenses are running $172,000 as of October. No, that's, I'm sorry. So
how much, Mayor?
$114,000 as of October. The
All right, Mark,
preliminary.
can you give me a number on what's this? It's 114,000 for year to date.
Yeah, it's
right, Mark?
Correct.
It's 1.4. And Mayor, what was the number again? I'm sorry.
$114,674.
That's the delta, though.
No, that's our delta is that we're still $11,000 ahead of the game.
We have 2 more months, though, correct?
We have 2 months to go.
Yeah. So should we be budgeting for that delta, or just making sure that we have enough money that accommodates that variance then? I guess
we should be budgeting for the difference.
Okay.
The delta should be budgeted.
Okay.
Okay, I will take a look at that again and make sure that we've got, that we, yes, put in the delta there.
And Mark, just for clarity and just for council's pleasure, do we not have escalators in the leases?
Yes, we do.
So
they were leveled lease for the first 5 years, if I recall. I haven't looked at them in a long time. We're in the 4th year of the city hall, so you should start seeing an increase in 2022. As a matter of fact, Louis, right now we're renegotiating the lease for Valor.
Yeah, it's coming up right now. What's your question, Peter?
So, well, the mayor answered. So there's no increase for 5 years then?
Oh, there's no increase, right? I mean, we'll double check it, but
I mean, for commercial leases, you think there would be some kind of escalator, right, or no?
Well, they build out their own property.
It depends.
There will be in the next time around. There will be an escalator.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions on the City Hall Fund? If not, as I said, I'll make sure to revisit these numbers and provide additional detail or additional recommendations should that be necessary.
Well, Mark, we'll provide what the delta is. So when we get back.
Yep.
I mean, it just so we know that we're not going to be short next year. So we're not moving money around mid-year to pay for the delta. If it's here, then we understand it then. We understand there's going to be money we contribute to the building, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right now, that budget is okay because we have $60,000 budgeted for repairs. We've only spent $35,000. So that delta will be less than we think, but we should figure out what that is by year end, so we have an idea. We'll make sure that by the next budget we have a city hall budget by the next budget hearing. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Are there any questions on any of the other funds that we discussed? If not, I will turn it back over to actually, maybe I'll just revisit quickly the remaining funds and departments that we'll be talking about. So as I noted, for next week, the 17th, we have DPW on the docket, and then with some of the additional funds such as MS4. We'll also talk about parking, the wastewater fund, the sewer fund, and then the capital plan would be discussed on the 17th and potentially spilling over into the 24th So with that said, I'll turn it back over. Nope, Dr. Ruggles.
Real quick, I just happened to notice on the sewer fund, and I'm just throwing this out, so maybe next week you could look it up, but it has salary for an elected official. And I'm not sure what that is.
We prorate the elected officials for how much time we spend on sewer issues for the sewer. This is really the sewer authority, the operating budget. So we do have a pro forma where we calculate based on mayor, council, controller, how much time they spent is allocated to the sewer budget, and then we charge the sewer authority in that budget.
Okay.
Okay, so again, unless there are any other questions, I will turn it back over to Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Mark. Seeing there is no more questions, that is the financial budget for this evening, and I will therefore turn it back to the mayor.
I thank you, Councilman Brown. At this time, there's any other thing to come before council of any other committee. Hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting till next week. Our budget session next week. Oh, Dr. Ruggles?
Move to adjourn.
Oh, move to adjourn?
I think.
To adjourn a committee, oh, all right, committee
Okay,
meeting.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, see you all later. Have a great night. Be safe.
Yeah.
Aye.